Hi, I'm Jennifer Wild, and you're listening to Sober Exposure. If it's about recovery, we're gonna cover it. It's like one big therapy session, but it's free. So thanks for joining our dysfunctional family as we uncover recovery with Sober Exposure. Let's go. Hey, welcome, Sober Exposure. I'm Jennifer Wild, and I have invited Elizabeth Stadtlander onto the show today. And I want to intro you here because, first of all, she's wearing my dress, the infamous Led Zeppelin dress, Jennifer Wild Led Zeppelin dress. And that's how I knew that she and I were going to get along.
Yeah, I was hoping you'd wear yours today too. But I could have texted you and I didn't. I just wanted to see if it would happen naturally.
Well, yes. Yeah. Oh, wouldn't that be the universe?
That would
Wouldn't
be the universe. Yeah.
I know, man. Well, Elizabeth, first of all, because a lot of my listeners are rock and rollers, because that I was a rock and roll DJ for, we were just talking about all that. So Elizabeth plays the drums like John friggin' Bonham, man.
I don't know if I'm not good.
Oh man, I've seen you beat those skins. Like, she's a therapist, so educated, plays the drums like Neil Peart, John Bonham, whatever. Who's your favorite drummer?
John Bonham. Actually,
yeah.
John Bonham, but my favorite drummer, favorite is my brother Kerry, who is an incredible drummer. It's like in my family. And honestly, he's on par with somebody like Bonham. He really is. Yeah. I'll tell you the next time he plays out so you can come check him out.
Yeah, I would love to. I gotta, like, there is nothing sexier than seeing like a hot chick banging the skins, you know? Like, I'm so jealous of that. I just have I have no rhythm at all. I'm like,
you could come down and have a lesson. Or actually, my brother's drum set's closer. I mean, he's in PGA.
I want to learn. I want to learn.
It's fun.
So yes, that's definitely in the cards for me. Part of my bucket list in sobriety. I took one drum class because I love it, but I was terrible.
You got to give it time.
Progress, not perfection. So, all right, fix us all. We are all fucked up here at Sober Exposure. Yeah. And a lot of times we just have people telling their stories, how they got out of their alcoholism, all different ways, whether it's AA, Reiki, crystals, it doesn't matter. I don't discriminate. I don't care. Now, I was looking at your Facebook page, and there was something that I loved, because a lot of times I do talk. Sometimes I talk about how therapists don't always give you the best advice sometimes.
Yeah, but that's true. I mean, I don't disagree with that.
Yeah. And especially when it comes to like alcoholism and addiction. I had someone on last week, and she was like, well, my therapist said, if you could stop for 2 weeks, then you're not an alcoholic. Anyway.
Yeah, no, I don't agree with that. But there's a lot of, I mean, unfortunately, there's not a ton of talent in my field. I mean, I wish I could say that there was, but there's not.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, my therapist, we do all kinds of woo-woo shit. You know, we do like meditation and
I do that.
astral projection. Yeah, that's what works for me, but whatever works. Now, you proclaimed as the rebellious therapist.
Yes.
What does that mean? I love it.
Well, basically what it means is that I'm not a therapist that just buys the party line or the BS a lot of times that they try to force on you in training and school. And I loved grad school, and I respect our ethics, but I don't agree with a lot of them. And I want my clients to come into my office and swear. And if they need to talk, they can call me and I'll try and get back to them. And I don't necessarily follow all of the old traditional, I guess, ethics and boundaries of traditional psychotherapy. I don't think that I think they're outdated. I think that they also have a way of making people feel very judged. And I don't want to have that ever in my office. And so I do things very differently. And if you were a therapist, I don't think people would necessarily see me as rebellious, but other therapists would probably think maybe this Elizabeth
What's
lost
she
her
doing?
mind.
That's not protocol. They don't say that in the books.
Right. That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So they would have a problem with it. And that's cool. I do what
Yeah.
works for me, and that's okay.
If you could say the F word and you're good with that, then
Oh,
you
yeah.
belong here. We do a lot
Absolutely.
of that too.
I mean, I tell people I swear a lot. I tell them in my first session, I hope you don't mind. And you can swear too.
Yeah.
And when you say sex, you don't have to whisper it. Some people like,
Oh my God.
like, come on, guys. Like, I'm 46. I'm not a virgin. You can say the word sex. It's fine.
Right. Yeah. I know. Well, sometimes it's true. Sometimes I do go to sometimes I admit this, I'm guilty of it. Sometimes I'm a little shameful when I go to my therapist and I don't want to tell her things.
That's
sometimes, and you can't do that because like, okay, so I'm paying her, but I'm afraid to tell her, yeah, I was a slut and I slept with this guy in the first date and now I have an itchy vagina. No, I'm just kidding, whatever.
But you make a good point, because anytime I ever went to therapy personally in my life, I never felt that comfortable being completely honest with my therapist. So I knew when I became a therapist that I wanted to create an environment where people could say that to me and we could have a laugh about it and then say, okay, what do we learn from this experience? What does this mean for you in your life? And be able to talk about it and just say everything, because if you can't do that, you're not having good therapy. You're not having authentic therapy, in my opinion.
And if you're afraid of your therapist, I've also had this because I've been in therapy since I was like 10. Okay. And I've had so many therapists, and I've had also, because of my drug and alcohol background, I've been in rehab over 40 times.
Okay.
And like she was maybe one of the best therapists, but also one of the worst, but I was terrified of her. And I think for sobriety, that was kind of good, but
yeah,
she was so intimidating and so scary. But she got a lot of people sober. So, there's gotta be, but the tough love, I don't know. So that's what I really, really want to put under the microscope today with you, because I saw something that really caught my eye that is so important, like something that's not really talked about. So many people call me up, and I have a friend that she's having an issue with her husband, and he's very successful. They're extremely wealthy, like ridiculous nannies and 5 houses and that type of deal. But he's an alcoholic. The thing is, because he is so like powerful, influential, and because he gets up every morning for work, he can't see it. So somebody like me, there's no questioning whether I'm an addict or not. I mean, I'm a full-blown friggin' addict. There's no way around it. So you were talking about the functioning alcoholic, and that's something that needs to be talked about. How do we help the functioning alcoholic?
Well, it's very difficult because, like you said, they kind of slip under the radar because they can function. Because when we're looking at people to sort of observe, okay, is this person an addict or not an addict? We tend to look at the 3 Ds. In my world, we look at danger, disability, dysfunction. So we kind of look for that in any mental health issue, but especially with addiction, when, like you said, when it's clear, it's clear. But the functional addict of any kind isn't so clear, because you say, well, they don't drink every night. They show up for work. They pay their bills. They're successful. And usually where the functional addict really presents itself is in relationships.
Absolutely. So, like this girl calling me saying, he's a freaking asshole. What the fuck do I do, man?
Sure. And absolutely. Yeah.
So how would you say, how do you do that? How do you approach this? What if you see this, your loved one is a functioning alcoholic, treating everybody like shit, miserable inside, but can't see it. What do you do?
Well, first step that I would recommend is consult with a therapist first, a good one. It doesn't have to be me, but I'd love it to be, but someone who's competent, and bounce some ideas off of the therapist that's competent, knows what they're doing. to kind of see, how this is affecting you and to really understand the scope of the problem, and understand that if you're with an addict, you're playing some role in that too. So we need to look at, what is your role in this? Are you enabling? Are you covering up? What's going on there? And then I think you have to approach your partner and approach them not in an attacking way, but in a way that is like your drinking or your drugs or whatever is now affecting me in my life and our relationship. And I'm not going to stand for it. And so you have to be tough with people who are using, as you know, you really do. And you have to be ready to draw that line in the sand. So sometimes when people come to me just for that, I'll say, maybe we need a couple sessions to get you strong enough and to the point where you really understand what's going on and you're really ready to draw that line. And sometimes it works out really well, but usually people have to be threatened to get help. So usually the husband or the wife has to say, I'm leaving if you don't go see Elizabeth with me, or I'm leaving if you don't get help. Yeah. And oftentimes you try the nice approach first. You might get lucky, 1 in 20 might get lucky, and the other 19 are going to have a harder time. It's not easy at all.
So threatening is okay.
Threatening is okay.
Okay, my friends. And
yes, it is. There's no other way you're going to get it. When you're addicted, as you know, when someone's addicted to something, most of the time, they're not thinking clearly, and they are very wrapped up in themselves and their addiction. So they're not really paying attention to how other people are being affected. And so sometimes you have to put it in their face.
Yeah. Yes. So ultimatums, okay.
Yeah. Ultimatums oftentimes are the only way to get somebody who is addicted to whatever to get help.
So I'm just going to be completely honest. So my cleaning lady's here and she was vacuuming, and my significant other was pissing me off, and I flew off the handle. I went crazy. I did. So let's just get deep here.
Okay.
When you saw that, do you see like an alcoholic not in recovery that needs because you're also a relationship therapist. I'm just curious what your take on all that was. Am I a total cunt? Because I was freaking out on him. It's okay.
I think maybe your approach could be a little softer with him because it's a little dominating. You nailed
it.
That would be my
relationship. I'm the dominatrix. I have him on the bed. I'm whipping him. I have him feeding me grapes. I am the dominatrix. But okay, yeah, that was just interesting. So that's a whole other show. That's
another show, which we can do anytime.
The dry drunk. Yeah. I feel like I'm a dry drunk right now because I just went crazy, and everybody at Sober Exposure got to, maybe we'll play that B-roll when I'm yelling at them. I think that'd be great.
That'd be great. That'd be a great show. Yeah.
All right. So basically what we're doing is we're going to go back to the functioning alcoholic. Yeah. So what are some, what would you say if somebody is kind of in the middle and they're like, I don't know if I should get involved. I don't know. So this, I think, is more about the codependent than the alcoholic here, So ultimatum, that's okay. I'm leaving you but before that happens and you want to take a softer approach first, let's step back. What do you do? Just sit them down. And I mean, I'm an alcoholic and I'm a drunk. So tell me first, and then I'm going to see how I would react when I'm in active addiction, what that would do.
Yeah. So, you have to sit down and talk to your partner like you would about any issue that was facing your relationship, and make it serious and say, this is really hurting me. This is hurting me. What you are doing is hurting me. It's hurting the kids. It's hurting, the whole family. Something has got to change.
Yeah, the ultimatum's gonna, because what happens is when we're in our active addiction, we don't give a fuck.
No, and you deny it. They deny it.
Yeah, we don't care. I don't care. God bless my mother. I mean, this is like the saddest story. And I want to, there's just nothing. My mother passed away, and like at the end of her life, I was in a bad relapse. I was in
I bet.
severe active addiction, and it was like 4 o'clock in the morning, and my mother had asthma, and she died very close after this. And I was like, fuck you. I'm going to go where I got to go to do what I got to do. And she's crying and she's running after me in her condo development, and she can't breathe, and it's 4 a.m. She's like, Jen, please, I can't breathe. Please don't do this. I can't breathe. I'm going to die. Fuck you. I don't care. Fuck you. I don't care. You know?
Wow.
And at the end of the day, like I have the chills, but at the end of the day, that's, you know, the depths of where my addiction took me, you know? So
yeah. And you're not alone in that, you know?
yeah. Yeah. So I have to do a lot of self-forgiveness work with my therapist because, you know, so to say,
you know, moms understand. I think I'm a big believer in life after death. It's a huge thing for me. And I believe that when people cross over, they see things from a very different perspective. And so I think that, you know, you're seeing it through your human perspective of what you did, but I think your mom's not really seeing it that way. You know, she's understanding that you have trouble with a lot of trouble with this certain, but I mean, it looks like you're doing great.
I hate this fucking disease. I hate it. I mean, it's a miracle that I'm standing up and that I'm alive. It's a miracle because I am not, like I said, not one of those functioning alcoholic or addicts. I was full blown alcoholic at 17, struggled my whole life. And yeah, you know, it's a constant, it's a daily reprieve.
Yeah. I think probably doing this show is very healing for you.
Absolutely. I mean, that's why I do it. I'm not doing this for the money. That's for sure.
No, I always tell people, right. I don't do mine either for money. I do it for the love of it. You have to love it, you know, but it does heal you. I mean, it does. The fact that you can be there's not a lot of people who can be as, you know, transparent and real as you. And I think that in itself is a gift, and it's very healing for other people to see it.
Well, yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, if one person's listening to this and we're helping one person, then, you know, it was a good day, really, you know. And there are, like, my girlfriend, when it was like, I saw the functioning alcoholic program that you were working on the same day that my girlfriend called me. And I'm glad that you're giving me, or that you're giving us, what you said about the ultimatum and everything, because that was my advice to her as well. But I mean, I am not obviously anything close to a therapist. I've just been to so many therapists in my life. And
yeah, you're an honorary therapist, but it takes a lot of, it's not easy it's not easy, and it's not really fair for the person in the relationship, but it's life. Life isn't fair. And, you know, when you're in these situations, you have to do what's best for yourself and your family. And it's hard to even imagine losing this person or losing your life. But the bottom line is you're going to have to, unless you want to live like this. So, you know, you can stand on your head and jump up and down and scream and do interventions and whatever the hell you want to do. But at the end of the day, the thing that usually makes the addict move is consequence, right? You got to hit something. You're going to lose something that really means something to you. And even that sometimes doesn't matter, you know?
Yeah.
There are people out there that just love doing their drug and they function on it, or whatever. And that's the way they choose to live their life. And it's sad, but you know, it is what it is.
But you can't, but the other person in the relationship does not have to tolerate it.
Does not have to tolerate it. No. And, you know, and I've been in that situation before.
Yeah.
And I had to leave, you know, and it was difficult, but you have to be a little bit selfish in life sometimes. And you have to realize that, you know, if you're loving an addict for the rest of your life, the rest of your life is going to be hell. So you have to decide what's more important at the end of the day, if you are the partner. And where there's an addict, there's an enabler. or there's an addict, there's an enabler. So, but the functional addict is definitely tricky. I love working with functional addicts, and I have a special program that I started about a year ago specifically.
Yes, we want to hear about this. We want to hear about this. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So basically I kept getting, couples coming in where it was usually the wife dragging the husband in who did something really terrible because of addiction. Okay. Whether it was sleeping with another woman, whether it was, got a DUI or got arrested, or the kids found the bag of Coke, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So the wife threatens the husband, you're going to go to therapy, couples therapy with me. And they think it's a couples issue. And a lot of times the person who's the addict tries to blame everything on the spouse, and they try to switch it up, during the session. And I have to say to them, okay, listen, it sounds like we have two different things going on here. We have couples issues for sure, but we can't really work on the couples issue until your, addiction issue is addressed. Where can you go in a couples relationship when someone's using something? You can't. So I give the couples like some choices, and I'll say, okay, look, I'm not doing couples therapy with you because it won't work and it'll be a waste of time and money. So my proposal to you is, let's work with the addict. Once I get the addict, cleaned up and moving forward, then we can bring you in for couples therapy. And when I was seeing this same scenario over and over and over and over again. And what I was doing for a while is I was hooking up the addict with a program, maybe an inpatient, maybe outpatient. And then I would see them with that at the same time, or I would say, go do the program and come to me after, because I'm, not equipped to give you what you need. And a lot of my clients were saying like, if I go to rehab, I won't be able to go to work, and I won't be able to afford, anything. And I, or my insurance doesn't cover it, or I don't have insurance. And I was hearing this over and over again. And they kept asking me, is there anything you can do? And at first I was saying, no, there's really not. I mean, if you want to pay my fee 5 days a week, you're welcome. I mean, but so after one of my longtime clients came to me, who I'd done some really good work with, and he told me that he had seen online this program that was like, a fortune, and it was for like male addicts, and he wanted me to take a look at it. And I took a look at it, and I didn't like what I saw.
What did you see? Just curious.
I can't remember the name of it, but it was like people who, really have no clinical background at all, charging a shit ton of money.
The coaches. I love all these coaches.
Yeah, it was a coach situation.
They're dangerous. Yeah.
They are. And I don't know if it was, I don't remember, but it was an absorbent amount of money, and it was all online. And I just said, look, this is just a robotic program, and they take your money, and, you can get something out of it probably if you want to, but I could do it for way cheaper. I know you've been my client for how many years? I know you. And if you agree to do this on a trial basis, like I'll even charge you less, and let's just give it a shot and see how it works. So I designed a program where I send assignments via email, text, video, whatever, to the client. And I'm in contact with the client like every day, and I have them using video or audio file, or if they really
this is the addict or the loved one of the addict. This is the addict.
The loved one's out of it.
Okay, right. Okay, because we got to fix the addict first before we can get right. Okay.
Oh yeah. So we are working with the addict, so they get all these different assignments, kind of what you would get in any rehab, and you're just interacting with me one-on-one, and I choose the issues specifically according to the client. So every client doesn't get the same program. They might get some of the same things, but as I get to know the client and I see, your father's death is a big thing here, we're going to do like 3 or 4, assignments just on your father's death. And then we get a session, a one-on-one session every week along with that. And it's 60 days, and it's a lot of work. But they don't have to go into a rehab. They don't even have to leave their house if they don't want to. And I really started this during COVID because, people weren't going anywhere in person anyway. So I figured, let me just give this a try and see if it works. And it worked. He did really, really well. And then I started just selling it to other clients. I'm like, I don't push it, but I just say, look, I have this thing. This is what it costs. This is what it is. And people keep doing it, and we're getting incredible results, but they're all functioning. And I think there's a difference between functioning and non-functioning.
Well, yeah. I mean, the non-functioning alcoholic
would not work in my program.
Okay. Yeah. Well, first of all, they probably have to, go away for 60 days and get detoxed. And,
yes. And
just be put out of their element, because that's such a big part of it. So the functioning alcoholic, I could see, it's sort of like one-on-one sober coaching, which is,
you could call it that,
which is big now. And, there's sober coaching everywhere, but this is where it's dangerous. The sober coaching, anybody, I could put on my business card that I'm a sober coach.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And like, you saw the way I just treated my producer. Like, I'm still a fucked up chick. You know what I mean? I'm still fucked up. I'm sober, but my mind isn't there at all.
Well, it's there.
So, everybody and their brother these days are sober coaches, and it pisses me off because it's really fucking dangerous, because you're projecting sick people. Two sickies don't make a welly. That's an old AA term.
That's a good way of thinking it. And you good therapists, and good education programs. We do so much boundary work. And I did a year of training the therapist as the self. Mm-hmm. So I went to somebody for a year who was a supervisor, and she that's all we did was talk about how my issues interact with my clients to make sure that they don't. So you need your therapist needs to be, I'm still human and I'm fucked up in my own ways. Okay. I'm not, by any stretch of the imagination, have it all together, but I am well-trained and I am experienced, and it does make a big difference.
If somebody wants to get therapy and they're not sure how they know or where, I found my therapist actually through the app Next Door. I was like, I need a good therapist. And I got so many results. And because 5 people recommended this woman, I was like, well, if 5 people are recommending her. And then I looked into her and everything, and I saw she was into my kind of thing, which is like woo woo and energy work and, all the spiritual, blah, 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 mm-hmm. Crystals, Tibetan singing bowls, all the stuff I love. So, I mean, I got lucky, but I had a therapist. When I tell you the story, you're going to freaking die. Okay. This was years ago. And this therapist, she's like the therapist's therapist. Other therapists go to see her. Okay. So she had an impeccable reputation. This woman freaking screwed me up. Really? I was getting married, and I knew I didn't want to marry this guy. I knew I didn't want to. And I just knew it wasn't right, you know? And her advice to me, because my mother wanted me to, I was 3 months pregnant, whatever, and she said to me, she's like, well, I feel like you need to follow through with the wedding. And you know what? You go to the wedding, so it looks like a wedding, but you don't have to file the paperwork.
What?
So you're not married. Just do the wedding and don't file the paperwork. I'm like,
that is bizarre.
He's never going to do that. He wants to file the paperwork. She was so adamant about me going through this wedding just to make for look's sake, just so everything could look great and to make my mother happy. But that's so fucked up.
That's fucked up.
And
that's
then
extremely fucked up. I'm sorry that happened.
And then she's like, oh, and then you could, there's always divorce, but I think you need to follow through with this wedding. And,
wow,
I just really needed somebody to guide me with what my soul was telling me, which was,
that's right.
This is,
someone to give you permission that it's okay to be in alignment with yourself and not do things to make other people happy.
Alignment with yourself. I love that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's what you needed. But yeah. And that's, again, what would play into this rebellious idea. Again, I'm not saying that I'm out breaking the law rebellious, but I would never, that to me is the worst kind of what you just, that's such bad therapy, because she's pushing her agenda and what she thinks is right onto her client. And that's a big no-no.
So bad. So many other things that, I was married and miserable in this marriage. And I felt like I felt like I was in the marriage because she encouraged the marriage. And I just kept seeing her. Like, that's another thing. It's like a bad relationship with the therapist. Like, I just kept going to see her, and I just kept getting worse and worse and the worst advice. And I just knew, as far as a good therapist, bad therapist, you see if there's chemistry.
Yeah.
And just really, we talk about the chakras. I talk about the chakras, and I talk about energy and all that. And, you just gotta go with, your third eye, and you have to follow your intuition. And I think your soul actually knows, because the whole time my soul knew. And the thing is, I'm so friggin' sick, and I'm such a people pleaser that it was like, well, I can't stop seeing her because I was people pleasing my therapist.
That's right. Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah.
And she didn't have the insight or the interest in pointing that out either. So again, there's not a lot of talent in my field. There is some, they're very few and far between. And the profession itself is relationship building, right? So if you do not know how to build healthy relationships as a person, how are you going to do it in your therapy? It's going to be really difficult. It's going to be really difficult. You can, and I think also therapists need to be constantly working on themselves and growing, because it's like, if you go to a personal trainer, for example, do you want the personal trainer who's fat and out of shape, or do you want the personal trainer who's like ripped up?
Right.
Okay. Yeah. So do you want to go to a therapist who continually, grows and works on themselves and can take you with her or him? Or do you want someone who's just stuck, following the rule book?
Yeah. Following the books, buy the books. I hate buy the books. Every time I'd always know when I was in rehab, I would always know which therapist was really an addict and which one wasn't, and which ones were just by the books, I mean, and I don't feel like you have to be an addict to help another addict.
No, you don't.
Yeah. I'm not sure anybody could really, really understand unless you are, but I've had some really good people help me that weren't, addicts. So, I believe that, what you said is, if you're constantly just working on your own mental health and yourself, so that's something to look for when you're looking for a therapist. So what you do like online work. If a lot of our listeners are Canada, California, wherever they are, what if somebody wants to find Elizabeth and they want help with whether or not you also spoke about boundaries? I mean, you do relationship therapy. There's all different types of things that you cover. I mean, our audience basically is all about, sobriety, but what if someone wants to find you? Where are we going to go?
Very easy to find me. Actuation-counseling.com is my business website. So actuation-counseling.com. I'm all over social media. So if you even, Actuation Counseling on Facebook, Elizabeth Stadtlander on Facebook, you could just type my name into Google and I'll pop right up. Very, very available and easy to find.
And yes, you just had a birthday too. Happy birthday, my little Sagittarius.
Yes, 46. I was 46. It was a good birthday.
Yeah, it looked like a good one online. And so you are fire, Sagittarius. That's fire.
Oh, yeah, I'm fire. I've got fire. I do have fire, and I do really love being a therapist. It's such a blessing to be able to be a part of people's lives and really impact change. And I think when it comes to addiction, it's always going to be there, and I think addiction, we don't have a lot of options when it comes to addiction. There's basically the AA 12-step program is the basic model that's used all over the world. And it works for some people and it doesn't work for others. But if you don't want to do that, or you want to do something different, you're kind of screwed. Like, where do you go? or what do you do? And people get really frowned on if they don't want the 12-step program, which I don't think is fair either. You know,
Yeah, I'm
I
glad
think,
you know that.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think it, you know, the
Mhm.
AANA program, it's helped a lot of people. It's a belief system. That's what it is. It's a belief system. And there's not a lot of great statistics that it even works, you know, because it's anonymous. So there's no real research done. We don't really know other than what AA and NA put out themselves. And, you know, a lot of people repeat it over and over and over again. So sometimes I wonder, like, you know, is it the addiction that is what it is, or is it the treatment, or is it both? You know, I think about that. I have a lot of addicts in my family, and I've seen it all around me my whole life. And, you know, I don't have an answer to that, but I thought, why don't I try something different and just see what happens? Let's just see. I mean,
Yeah.
what's going to happen? If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I'll give you your money back, you know,
Yeah.
but let's give this
Yeah.
a try. And it's
Yeah.
been really, really successful. And I think the one-on-one attention is really nice to have when you're trying to get sober. The group is also wonderful because group makes you, you know, kind of grow by hearing other people's stories and knowing you're not alone, and bouncing around different ideas and stories with people is also wonderful.
Yeah.
But that one-on-one attention to really get to the root of your issues and what's really driving you, I think takes a one-on-one experience.
Yeah. Because the alcohol and drugs is just the symptom.
Correct.
It's just the symptom. You
Correct.
know, dealing with the trauma. And I always say, which came first, the chicken or the egg? I don't know.
I don't
You
know.
know, what came first? I don't know. Like I was an addict at 5. I was acting out in other, you know, different things, whether it was food or yeah.
Okay.
It was just never had enough of anything, you know, nothing was good enough.
Just alcohol, or did you have like?
No, I'm a full-blown drug addict, man. I'm a garbage can. Yeah. I've been through everything. You know? And I've talked a lot about it on the podcast, and now I'm up for this other big job. I'm up for a big job I'm trying to get.
Okay.
And I'm like, God, they're going to listen to my podcast. They're not going to hire me, you know, but everybody knows, listen, here's the deal. I think it was like 9 years ago, my mug shot. I had a big, huge radio job in Miami.
Okay.
And I was up for another position. I was just about to start at a family station, and I got arrested for crack cocaine.
Okay.
And my friggin' mug shot was all over the internet, all over the news. It was everywhere. So to be honest with you, the reason why I speak out loud like this is because I would rather be known as a recovering addict than one that's using. I want to be remembered for this. You know, I just worked out. I worked out for an hour and a half with my trainer. I kicked ass, you know, meditated, going to therapy. I do TMS therapy.
Okay.
We did a whole thing about TMS. So I want to be known for that, not the mugshot.
Right.
So,
right. And I think, I mean, listen, I'm very inspired by people like you who can just be who they are.
yeah.
Because life is so much better when you can just be real and just be who you are and take off those masks. And if people don't like it, you know, that's their problem. Because personally, I'd rather hire you than anyone else because you're real and I know what I'm dealing with, you know, and there's no surprises. But that is something, you know, listen, I used to worry a lot about that too. Not that I had a, you know, addiction issue like you did, but I'm really outspoken a lot of times. And, you know, you wonder like, you know, is this going to affect me down the road? Is this going to, and then I think, well, you know what, who cares? Like, who cares?
Yeah. Yeah.
Who cares?
The only thing that I need to protect is my son, and he does get a little embarrassed sometimes. He won't let me. Like, he had a big, huge band. His band was performing at this club, and there were all these people, and I was so proud of him, and I couldn't wait to put that all over social media. He's like, "Mom, I don't want anyone to know you're my mommy. It's embarrassing." I'm like, Hunter. Yeah, you weren't embarrassed when I was working in radio and you were a little kid and you got to meet Taylor Swift, you know, whatever. But anyway,
he'll grow out of that.
Yeah. He's fine. So, all right, Elizabeth, listen, you've been a pleasure.
Thank you.
And
likewise.
you guys, listen, if you have someone in your life that needs help, or if you're struggling with relationships, boundaries, whatever it may be, you know, I think you got your girl right here. I love it.
Thank
Yeah, I
you.
love it.
Thank you so
Awesome.
much. Keep doing what you're doing, Jen. I love it.
Thanks. We're going to continue. Sober Exposure. Have a great week, you guys. See ya.
Take care.
Need more? Of course you do. The show's all about needing more. Go to my website at soberexposure.show or get stuck on my Instagram at soberexposure_podcast.